Imagine a world where leaders don't wait for others to take charge, where every decision, every action is fueled by control, focus, and purpose. That's the world self-disciplined leaders create. And the question is, are you ready to lead yourself before leading others? Leadership isn't about titles, corner offices, or who has the loudest voice in the room. True leadership starts with the hardest person to lead, yourself. Your habits, your choices, and your discipline define the standard others will follow. Today, we're going to explore how self-discipline transforms ordinary people into extraordinary leaders. Discipline is the foundation upon which credibility is built, and credibility is the currency of leadership. When you consistently show up, when your actions align perfectly with your words, people begin to notice, not just in passing, but deeply. It is in those moments when life tests you, when challenges arise and pressure mounts, that discipline truly reveals its power. Anyone can make promises when everything is easy. Anyone can appear committed when there is no risk or consequence. But discipline is what separates those who talk from those who deliver, those who fade under pressure from those who stand firm. When you honor your commitments consistently, even in the face of difficulty, you are silently communicating a message that resonates far beyond your immediate surroundings. You are someone to be trusted. This trust, earned through relentless consistency, becomes the backbone of credibility. Leaders are not measured by the applause they receive or the number of people who follow them momentarily. They are measured by the confidence others place in them over time. Every time you meet a deadline, every time you keep a promise, every time your actions reflect your intentions, you are reinforcing that trust. People begin to believe in your word because they have seen it materialize into action repeatedly. This credibility is magnetic. It draws people to you not because of charm or charisma, but because they sense reliability at a fundamental level. Reliability creates safety, and in safety, teams thrive. People want to follow someone who demonstrates unwavering discipline because it assures them that in moments of uncertainty, they have someone dependable to lean on. Discipline builds credibility in ways that are both visible and invisible. The visible aspect is obvious. You meet your deadlines, you honor your word, you arrive prepared and focused. But the invisible aspect is just as important. It's the quiet reputation you cultivate in the minds of others over time, the sense that your actions are predictable, measured, and trustworthy. This invisible credibility shapes decisions, influences collaboration, and fosters respect. When a leader demonstrates discipline, it sets a standard for everyone around them. People naturally adjust their own behaviors to match the reliability they see modeled. In essence, discipline becomes contagious. Moreover, credibility earned through discipline is resilient. Popularity is fleeting. Influence built on charm or charisma can vanish overnight. But credibility earned through consistent, disciplined action withstands the tests of time and adversity. It is your shield in crises, your anchor when chaos surrounds you, and your silent voice of authority in moments when others are uncertain. The more disciplined you are, the more others instinctively look to you for guidance, not because they are obliged, but because they trust that your guidance will be grounded in reliability, integrity, and clarity. Ultimately, discipline is more than a habit. It is the language through which credibility speaks, and credibility is the foundation upon which lasting leadership is built. Self-control is the invisible force that shapes the decisions of a true leader, and it is one of the most powerful expressions of discipline in action. A leader who lacks self-control reacts impulsively, allowing anger, frustration, or excitement to dictate choices. Decisions made in the heat of the moment often lead to mistakes, misunderstandings, and regret. They can fracture trust, destabilize teams, and create ripple effects that last far beyond a single conversation or action. On the other hand, a self-disciplined leader responds intentionally. They pause, assess, and choose a course of action that aligns with their values and long-term goals rather than the fleeting emotions of the moment. This difference may seem subtle, but in leadership, it is the line between chaos and clarity, between short-term satisfaction and lasting impact. When emotions rise, self-control becomes the anchor that keeps decisions steady and rational. Life and leadership are full of pressure, unexpected setbacks, and moments that test your composure. In those moments, discipline is what prevents you from lashing out, making hasty promises, or taking the easy but unwise path. It allows you to respond with clarity, fairness, and strategy. It ensures that every choice you make is measured, not reckless, thoughtful, not reactive. A leader with self-control doesn't simply act, they choose to act in a way that strengthens trust, builds relationships, and reinforces their credibility. It's the difference between creating solutions and creating problems, between leaving a positive mark and leaving confusion in your wake. Self-control also shapes long-term strategy. Leaders face constant decisions that influence not just immediate outcomes, but the trajectory of entire teams, organizations, and even communities. Impulsive choices may feel urgent, but they rarely serve the bigger picture. The self-disciplined leader understands the weight of their decisions. They recognize that a single misstep can have far-reaching consequences. By exercising self-control, they ensure that every decision, big or small, is aligned with their vision, their purpose, and their responsibility to those who look to them for guidance. In this way, self-control is not just a personal virtue, it is a leadership tool that magnifies impact and fosters respect. Ultimately, leadership is less about the noise around you and more about the calm within you. External pressures, criticism, and chaos will always exist, but the leader with self-control maintains an inner steadiness that allows them to navigate complexity with confidence. This calm doesn't just benefit the leader, it reassures the team, stabilizes the environment, and inspires trust. People follow those who think before they act, who remain composed when stakes are high, and who consistently make decisions that are fair, strategic, and principled. Self-control, therefore, is the bridge between intention and action, between thought and impact. It transforms reactive impulses into deliberate choices, ensuring that every decision contributes to long-term success rather than short-term regret. The self-disciplined leader doesn't simply manage situations, they master themselves. And in doing so, they guide others with clarity, integrity, and vision. Discipline is the engine that creates momentum, and momentum is what separates leaders who dream from leaders who deliver. Great leaders understand that motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind, unpredictable and unreliable. You cannot wait for a surge of inspiration to take action, because by the time it arrives, opportunities may have passed, challenges may have grown, and goals may have drifted further out of reach. What leaders rely on, what they cultivate every single day, is discipline. Discipline is the habit of showing up, of acting consistently even when motivation is absent and even when the task is mundane or difficult. It is the quiet force that keeps progress moving forward, step by step, until small actions compound into extraordinary results. Every completed task, no matter how minor it seems at the moment, is a building block for momentum. When you meet a deadline, even when no one is watching, you reinforce your ability to trust yourself. When you honor a promise, no matter how small, you strengthen the foundation of your credibility. When you respect boundaries, whether in work, relationships, or personal growth, you signal to yourself and to others that you are a person of principle and focus. These seemingly small actions, when performed consistently over time, accumulate into a powerful force that propels you forward, often in ways you cannot immediately see. Momentum is invisible at first, subtle but relentless, and once it builds, it becomes unstoppable. Discipline transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. It turns repetitive actions into habits, habits into routines, and routines into a rhythm that drives continuous progress. Leaders who cultivate discipline understand that success is not a single event, but a series of deliberate, consistent steps taken over time. One decision to stick to a plan, one commitment kept, one effort made despite exhaustion or doubt, these actions multiply. What seems insignificant today becomes the momentum that carries you through tomorrow's challenges, the foundation for tackling even larger obstacles, and the engine that accelerates you toward your vision. Momentum created through discipline is also empowering. It fuels confidence and builds resilience. Each forward step reinforces your sense of capability. You begin to see that progress is not dependent on luck or sudden inspiration, but on steady, deliberate action. This momentum becomes self-reinforcing. The more you do, the more you are able to do. The more progress you make, the more energy and clarity you gain to take on even bigger challenges. Discipline, in this way, is not merely about completing tasks. It is about creating a life that moves with purpose, direction, and unstoppable forward energy. Finally, disciplined momentum inspires others. When people witness consistent action, they feel compelled to rise to the standard. Momentum is contagious. Teams, communities, and organizations are uplifted when a leader models disciplined progress. It shows that success is achievable not through luck or sudden inspiration, but through relentless, consistent effort. In the grand arc of leadership, momentum is what turns vision into reality, ideas into action, and effort into lasting change. Discipline doesn't just move you forward, it carries everyone around you toward possibility and greatness. Leadership is not defined by what you say, it is defined by what you do. People do not follow empty words or inspirational speeches alone, they follow action. When you lead by example, when your behavior aligns with the standards you expect of others, you create a living blueprint for what is possible. Discipline is not just a personal virtue, it is a teaching tool. Every decision you make, every habit you maintain, every boundary you honor communicates to those around you what excellence looks like. Your focus, your commitment, and your restraint become silent lessons that others absorb, often more powerfully than any formal instruction or motivational talk. True leaders understand that leadership starts quietly. It begins in the daily routines that no one else witnesses. It begins in the choices you make when no one is watching, the decision to wake up early, to follow through on commitments, to prioritize what matters most over what is convenient. These small, consistent actions form a pattern, a rhythm of integrity and perseverance. Over time, the accumulation of these choices becomes a visible standard, a culture of accountability and purpose. Others notice not because you announce it, but because the results, the consistency, and the alignment between your words and actions speak for themselves. Leading by example is also profoundly inspiring because it bridges the gap between theory and reality. Anyone can talk about hard work, focus, or perseverance. Anyone can give advice about goals, habits, or discipline. But when you live these principles, you transform them from abstract ideas into tangible proof. People no longer wonder if success is possible, they see it in front of them. They see that challenges can be overcome, that focus leads to results, and that discipline is not restrictive but liberating. Your actions create a ripple effect, motivating others to elevate themselves, not because they are forced, but because they are inspired by your consistency, courage, and commitment. The impact of leading by example extends far beyond your immediate environment. A disciplined individual can influence a team, a community, or even a broader movement. When one person consistently demonstrates excellence, it sets a standard that others strive to meet. Teams become more cohesive, communities become more resilient, and organizations become stronger because the behavior of one disciplined leader establishes what is expected and possible. Leadership by example is contagious. It spreads quietly but powerfully, transforming ordinary efforts into collective achievement. Moreover, leading by example fosters trust and respect. People are naturally drawn to those whose actions align with their words, whose character is visible in every decision, and whose standards are unwavering. Trust is not given, it is earned through consistency, integrity, and accountability. By embodying the principles you value, you create an environment where others feel safe, supported, and motivated to follow your lead. Leadership, in its truest form, is less about titles or authority and more about influence, and influence is rooted in example. Ultimately, when you lead by example, you're not just accomplishing tasks, you're shaping a culture, inspiring others, and planting seeds for lasting impact. The quiet discipline of your daily life becomes the loudest message you send, that greatness is built not by words, but by consistent, intentional action. Your choices ripple outward, shaping not only your own path, but the path of everyone around you. Leadership, therefore, is born in the small, silent decisions, and when done well, it echoes far beyond what you can ever imagine. Challenges are inevitable, and pressure is a constant companion on the journey of leadership. Life will test your patience, your endurance, and your commitment to your goals. It will confront you with obstacles that seem insurmountable and situations that demand more than you think you can give. The difference between those who crumble under pressure and those who rise above it lies not in luck or talent, but in discipline. Discipline is the quiet strength that allows a leader to endure, to persevere, and to maintain clarity of purpose even when the world seems determined to push them off course. It is the steady hand that guides action when emotions run high and circumstances are uncertain. Discipline does not remove the challenges that life throws at you. It does not create a world free from setbacks, failures, or difficult decisions. What it does is far more powerful. It equips you to face those challenges with courage, focus, and consistency. When you have built the habit of discipline, you are prepared to respond to adversity with intentional action rather than reactive emotion. You show up even when you are tired, you persist even when the path is unclear, and you keep your commitments even when it would be easier to quit. In this way, every difficulty becomes an opportunity to reinforce your strength and your capacity for leadership. Setbacks are not merely obstacles, they are tests. And tests, when met with discipline, become proof of resilience. Each challenge you overcome validates your ability to endure, adapt, and continue moving forward. The self-disciplined leader does not see failure as a reflection of their worth, but as a moment to learn, adjust, and grow stronger. They recognize that resilience is not something one is born with. It is forged through repeated action, through the conscious choice to persist despite discomfort, uncertainty, and opposition. Every disciplined effort strengthens the muscles of resilience, preparing the leader to handle increasingly complex challenges with grace and effectiveness. Resilience born from discipline is also contagious. Teams, communities, and organizations notice when a leader remains steadfast in the face of adversity. Your calm in the storm, your consistency under pressure, and your refusal to surrender to discouragement inspire confidence and motivate others to emulate the same behaviors. Leadership, therefore, is a model of resilience that others can trust and rely on, especially when stakes are high. Finally, discipline builds a long-term form of resilience that shapes not only outcomes but character. It teaches patience, endurance, and the ability to maintain focus on what truly matters. The leader who cultivates discipline learns to see beyond temporary discomfort to the lasting rewards of persistence. Each trial faced with disciplined action becomes a brick in the foundation of their character, preparing them for the next challenge, the next decision, the next moment when leadership is required. In this crucible of disciplined action, resilience is born, not as an abstract idea, but as a living, powerful force that enables leaders to navigate adversity, inspire others, and achieve their vision with unwavering resolve. True leadership is never measured by titles, positions, or fleeting moments of recognition. It is measured by the legacy you leave behind, and that legacy is shaped not by chance, but by self-discipline. Leadership that lacks discipline is temporary, fragile, and often forgotten because it is built on convenience rather than principle. Projects may be completed, profits may be earned, and speeches may be delivered, but if the foundation is not rooted in consistent character and deliberate action, the impact fades the moment you step away. A disciplined leader understands that what truly endures is the example set, the standards established, and the inspiration left for those who follow. Every choice, every habit, and every action becomes part of that enduring legacy. Discipline transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary influence. It is through daily commitment, consistent focus, and unwavering integrity that leaders build a blueprint for others to follow. When you honor your word, show resilience in the face of setbacks, and act with intentionality, you send a powerful message. Greatness is achieved not through luck or privilege, but through consistent, deliberate effort. Others observe these actions, internalize them, and often model their own behavior accordingly. Your persistence becomes a lesson, your focus becomes a standard, and your integrity becomes a measure by which others evaluate themselves. In this way, self-discipline multiplies beyond the individual and begins to shape communities, organizations, and even future generations. Legacy is not an abstract concept. It is the sum of countless small choices made every day. Each morning that you wake up with purpose, each promise you keep, each boundary you honor, and each challenge you face with courage contributes to a living testament of who you are as a leader. People may forget your words, and circumstances may erase temporary achievements, but the patterns of disciplined behavior you model leave a lasting impression. Discipline is the invisible thread that weaves together the story of your leadership, creating a narrative that outlives your presence and continues to guide others long after you have moved on. A disciplined leader also understands the responsibility inherent in their influence. Your actions, whether observed closely or silently, have the power to inspire, shape, and elevate others. Leaders who cultivate discipline recognize that their daily behavior communicates values, ethics, and standards more powerfully than any speech or policy ever could. By committing to self-discipline, you ensure that the legacy you leave is one of integrity, accountability, and excellence. Your life becomes a reference point, a living example that teaches what is possible when focus, persistence, and character guide action. Ultimately, true leadership is earned, not inherited, and it is earned every single day through disciplined choices. Your legacy is defined not by what you claim or what you intend, but by what you consistently do. By prioritizing self-discipline, you create a life and a leadership style that inspires, shapes, and elevates those around you. The impact is lasting, the influence is real, and the example you leave behind becomes a beacon for others who aspire to lead with purpose and integrity. Leadership is not about being remembered for fleeting achievements. It is about creating a legacy that endures through the lives you touch, and that legacy begins with the discipline to live, act, and lead with unwavering commitment. So, if you want to lead, truly lead, you must first master yourself. Start small, wake up on time, honor your commitments, control your impulses. Every act of discipline is a brick in the foundation of your leadership. Lead yourself first, and the world will follow. Remember, leaders aren't born, they're forged, moment by moment, through relentless self-discipline.